Hi everyone, welcome to CLO 5.2 New Features Hong Kong webinar. We have a lot of new and exciting features to showcase to you today. We will start by going through the UX and avatar updates, and then going to 3D and 2D tools, and then last we will have new updates on materials and render. If you have any questions regarding the new features, welcome to leave your questions at the chat windows. We will go through and answer it one by one after these presentations and for our live Q&A sessions. So, we're going to begin with UX updates. First, we have grip tools. When we get into version 5.2, you will see there are some changes on tool interface. There are less icons appear on both 3D and 2D Windows toolbars. They are not disappeared, they are just grouped by categories. So now let's say when we left click at the pattern tool, you will see a drop down menu appeared, and all remaining icons that are listed out. You can just freely choose and click to use either one of them. And also same as to 3D window, let's say we click buttons. Hold a second, then you will see buttons and buttonhole, they're grouping together. Just click and you always can change. So this is more categorized and it looks more less occupied as toolbar space. But if you still want to see all the icons on the toolbars, you can always go to change at settings. Let's say now we go to settings, user interface. Under toolbars, there's a group tools, which you can always click on or off. Let's say now I click off and close. Just wait a second. Now you'll see all the two icons. They appeared on both 3D and 2D windows. So that's the first updates on the UX. Next, UX new features would be save thumbnails in 4 wheels. In previous versions, when we save project files, we only got single wheel thumbnails, just like this. But now we can provide one more options, which you can save thumbnails in 4 wheels. You can go to settings, user settings, default files. Under projects, there's a list called save thumbnails in 4 wheels, front, right, back, and left. You can always click on or off. Let's say now I click on and close. Then after all, when I go to save project files, it will automatically generate thumbnails in 4 wheels, just like this one, which I saved before. The next UX updates would be classic graphic classifications. So when you work on some graphic files on 3D garments, let's say now I click either one of these graphics, you'll find under property editor there's a new items called classifications. You can choose, click the arrows, you can find the drop down menu, there's a few options, embroidery, logo, and print except none. You can choose either one of that. Let's say now I choose logo. Then this graphics will be shown, will generate under the classification of logo on the closet tech packs that you export. Of course, if these 3 options is not in your choice, you can always type in something else. Let's say now I choose this one, this print, this graphics. You can always delete none. You can create your type in your own words, like say screen print. So now this would be also generate in the closet tech packs when you export it. This will be very helpful when you have several graphics on the same garments and you need to generate the tech packs. So we will cover save HTML file in Snapshot and Turntable. This is the new features that we add into our 5.2 versions, which now you can save your snapshots in HTML files. You go to Snapshot 3D Windows, then you can add in your file names. And now you see the pop-up window of Snapshot, both single and multi-view, depending on your selections. And now you both see there's a box called Save HTML File. You unclick it, that will show that Save Separate Image. Of course, now if you want to save HTML file, that will no longer separate image. Others features, they are all the same as previous versions. Same, you can set your own custom size and also the viewing angles. Now we can save as the snapshot. Click, you will go to the web page that showcases your snapshot image, HTML format. And same as to turntable videos. When you click, then you will see also the same turntable video capture windows. You also can adjust your viewing angle as well, and that's also a save HTML file box under. You can click or click depending if you want HTML file. If you click, that will be no durations for your setting because HTML file is a series of image. I will show you once when we record it. So we click and we start recording. Now I will show you the files I've saved before, the turntable files. When you click in, you have both web HTML file and also the video files. Of course, now I show you the HTML files. Now you see that will be a web page showcasing your turntable image. But this will be just an image. You just click previous or next, click continuously, then you can see the consecutive image coming through it. So we came to the last UX update, which is BOM mode, Bills of Materials. So BOMs will allow you to see the overall cost of your garments as well as the fabric and trim consumptions. But please be noted that this fabric and trim consumption will be greatly influenced by your print layouts, which how you arrange your pattern pieces on the fabric roll. So how we can see that? We can go to the simulations, there's an arrow, you clicked it, and there's a drop-down menu which a BOM appeared at the bottom. Once you click it, then you will see the BOM editor popping up and showcasing all the list materials that you consume and the cost as well. But how, as I mentioned, you need to see how the print layout affecting the BOM. If you click the print layout, they will solely showcasing the print layout alongside with the 3D garments windows. So you see just how if you want to sync things that you can see the both print layouts and the BOM alongside together, you may not necessary to kick back to the BOM mode. You can just simply going up to the bars, that's a 2D window, and you will see the drop down menus that you can choose to click BOM editor. You will see the BOM editor alongside with the print layout. Simply adjust your windows, then you can more easily to see the both. And now you see that the current print layouts will consume 3.88 yards, which also affecting on the BOM editor and the cost accordingly. And now if you want to change the print layout and you can just simply rearrange it, reset it, and now you see this is a new update fabric consumption length, which is 2.06. And you need to click in update at the BOM editor, then you will immediately see the numbers of the quantity of the fabric have changed and the cost has changed accordingly. So this will allow you to see the fabric consumptions, how it changed, and it will also immediately affecting on the fabric cost And if you want to change the currency units, just like now I clicked the top right hand corners, then you can go to the settings. You can always change the currency units. We have allowed offers different currency units for you to choose from. Just simply just choose one according to your needs. And now we stick with the US dollar. So you can simply just close it and it will change or remain the same according to your selections. And when we go to colorways, we now have 3 colorways. As you see, ABC. If you click B, then you will see that then other colorways which have a different print layouts, which you need to change accordingly if you want to remain the same as colorway A. Now you go back to colorway 8, you also then now you can see the total cost of the selected colorways, which means this will showcase the current colorway 8 of total cost. But at the same time, they can also calculate the remaining colorways, which is colorway B and C, of the total consumption, total cost. So we now can change the price and the yards as well. For the yards, we also offer different units for you to choose from. Now we just stick with yards. And the price as well, we can change accordingly as your fabric cost. So now we'll change to 3.15, and immediately the cost will change. So that will also affecting at the bottom of the fabric colors that will be showing in the total cost. And when we go down to the trims, we see buttons, and now we consumed 7 buttons at the quality. And if you want to change the price as well, so you can type in another price, which now I type in 0.15, then the cost will also change accordingly and reflecting at the total cost of the buttons. So this will allow you, BOM will be reflecting on your tag packs which generate from closet, but accept the cost. Please note that the cost temporarily not available to present at the tag packs, which our developers will work on that for the later versions. So now we will move on to the next new features on avatars, which including backed avatars and object scaled. So you will see now in the 3D windows we have 5 different objects and with the different back designs on top. When I disappear the backed fabrics, you will see underneath there are 5 different shapes 3D object files. These 5 object files, you can find it at the library under avatars, which there's a folder called 3D shapes alongside with other avatar files. Click inside, you will see there's this 5 different shapes avatars. So the same, we put it onto the 3D window right now. So now this 3D objects, we currently don't have any arrangement point on it, but you're welcome to create your own arrangement point. Just like in the middle, I got 2 arrangement points on this. You can just simply put the pattern pieces on both this avatar objects. Then you can easily create your own back design from the scratch. So this tool will be very useful for the back accessory designs, and some may be for interior objects. Then now we will talk about object scaled. So first, let me delete this fabrics on top of this 5 object files. And we choose one of this, let's say this one, this 3D objects as an examples. when you click this 3D objects, you will immediately see that under property editor, this we have the specifications. That's the scales showcasing the measurements of these objects according to X, Y, and Z axis. With, let's say, we can manually type in any measurements numbers inside. Let's say now I type in 400 millimeters along the x-axis, then it will immediately change this size along the x-axis. But at the same time, it will also change on y and z-axis according to the ratios. So, but if you don't prefer to change scale in ratios, you can always unclick this buttons called Lock Aspect Ratios. And now when I change, let's say I change this to the z-axis to 500, and now you will see that immediately it will solely change the measurements of z-axis into 500, but this doesn't affect x and y axis. And this is one of the methods to manually change the size of these 3D objects. At the same time, we can also utilize another method, which we can use this gizmo tool. Also, when you click this 3D objects, a gizmo tool appears. That's two icons appeared alongside with it. Which this one at the left, when you click this left buttons, you immediately see that the gizmo tool has changed. And if you hover this three axes in different colors, let's say I drag the green one, then you will see that I immediately can scale up and down according to the axis, which is y-axis. And also, if I choose blue, I will change the z-axis. At the same time, this if you want to scale it up and down proportionally, then you can utilize this hover to grade cube. Then you click and then drag. Then you will see that that's a dotted line. And if you the size will change according to your dragging directions. Which if I drag left, it will be bigger, scaling up. If you drag smaller, then you need to turn into the right one. So this is how we can scaling the objects in these versions. And now, of course, if you want to change it back to normal, you just simply click it back and click back these icons. Then you will change to gizmo to normally. And then simply now right click and move the avatar to ground. And now it will have a new size avatars alongside with the remaining 4 avatars. Besides 3D avatars, we have another new avatars for kids, which is infants. So inside avatar folders, inside kids folders, we have a new avatars called Nabat 6 to 18 months. Then if you duplicate it, you will automatically have the avatar with you, but in standardized size in 12 months. So if you prefer another size, you're always welcome to go to the size folder. And that's a folder called Close Kids 6 to 18 months. You put inside, you have another 4 different months avatar size folders. So let's say now I turn to 18 months, you see the avatar size immediately change. 9 months and 6 months, smallest. You're always welcome to change the avatar size according to your measurements. You can always go to avatars, avatar editor, same as the normal avatars size changes. You can input your data inside this avatar editor. At the same time, we also have the arrangement points and also the X-ray joint for you to manually adjust your avatar's pose. So this, you will find that the folders that when we click outside, you will see that these are kids avatars. They share the same hair, same pose, same texture folders. So we normally can just freely use and change according to your designs. But except shoes, which when you click inside the shoes, you will see that only shoes folders, the shoes files have to categorize in different according to the avatar names. So which means that kids avatars, the infant avatars have their own shoe folders. So please aware of that. Let's say now you see now this avatar Snapshot have proportionally very small, not so well fit shoes. If you want to change it, you always need to go to his accordance name folders, which was this one. Then you can change the shoes files. Let's say now I choose combat boots. Then now you see the combat boots shoe size is just perfectly fit for this avatars. Next, I will talk about the updates of our current avatars, which you can change hills on avatars upon post. So let me get back to the avatars files, and we now turn into female V2, and we chose Fei Fei. So now you find that actually if you go inside to pose, you will find that there's no longer have an folder options of flat on ground, because now the avatar pose or the avatar pose, they are equipped both flat on ground and with heels data. So when you want, let's say, just double click on either one of the pose, you will see the pop-up window. There's two more boxes beneath that you have one maintain current shoe pose. So if you click that off, it means that you no longer maintain the current shoe pose, which is heel, and just OK, then you will find that you simply change on flat on ground. But of course now it looks a bit weird, and if you want to change it back, it's quite easy. You just click on the shoes and you will find that change heels, these options, and you chose up, then you will turn it back to the normal positions of the heels pose. Then now how we change flex on ground pose, we can go back to change by the shoes. Simply, you now click into the shoe folders and you just simply change to some other flat on ground shoes options, let's say sneakers. Then you just double click, then it will automatically change to flat on ground. So now you will understand that when you want to change your pose, you no longer to choose an avatar with flat on ground pose. In reverse, you just simply chose the shoes options, then you will automatically adjust the pose. Let's say now I change it back to the heels, it will finally change to the heels with the pose. Now we came to the last avatar update, which V2 avatars have motion files, which is a good news. Now when we click into the motion folders under V2 avatars, we will find the 5 motion files, same as the other avatars files. And now I would like to add garments on her, which I finished before. So I make sure that the dress is set on her. I click simulate, and I think I would adjust a bit on the particle distance to make it look more finer. Then I can go back to the avatar motion folders and add the motion files on her. I think I will choose the first one. Then double click, you will see the windows, which is the same as the previous versions. You can also set the the transition for animations. I think I'll just keep it as same as before, so I just click OK. Then of course, before you turn to the animations, make sure the garment is ready and set without any unstable light simulations. So I think I will go now to the animation modes. Can set a little bit of time warp. So now I can simply just click simulations, then click record, and now the motions files will now turn into the animations. Now we'll move on to the next new features on 3D, which is 3D quality render. Now you see we got new project files, which we already made all the garments on the avatars with the looks and pose. So you will also notice that there is an extra icon on top of the toggle 3D windows that is called quality render 3D windows. Once you click it, you will instantly see that the image appear on the 3D windows looks more realistic, which we have more obvious shadows with wrinkles appears as well. Then we can go to the render. We just simply click the interactive render and wait to see the render image. We add this new quality render because we received some feedbacks from our clients that they found there's some difference between the working files when compared to the rendered image. And if now we have this quality rendered, we can have better estimations onto the render image. So, but please note that there's still some difference between the 3D windows and also the render image because they generate from different algorithms. But it will be a good tools that when working on the project files, you can keep on to see more accurate estimations for the render image. Next, we'll have an update on the simulation modes. So when we click the simulation icons, you will see there's a free simulation mode and the name has changed. Now we have got fast, GPU, normal, default, fitting accurate fabrics. So what they means? Let me show you the documents we have. Now they are actually compared to 5.1, the three modes, they are all the same contents, same purpose. But just we changed the name so that to make it more comprehensible to some users, they are not familiar with the terms so-called GPU, normal, complete or complete nonlinear. So same simulations to fast GPU, which means they are generated fastest by the GPU simulations, and normal, which is also still as the default settings for simulations. And we have for complete nonlinear simulations, we change to fitting accurate fabric, which means if you prefer to have a more accurate for fabrics simulations, that you can choose this one. So, but you also notice that we only got 3 simulation modes, and simulations for complete with is missing. We have removed this from the simulation modes at the 3D window, but at the same time we move it to the animations. You can still find this stable animations at the animations mode, because this will be only available to the animation mode. So this will be the updates on the new terms for the simulations.
In this session, I will go through the new 2D features. The first thing I'm going to talk about is half symmetry. As you can see on the 2D window, this symmetry is applied to the front top and the back top. You can get this half symmetry when you unfold the pattern by right-clicking on the center outline and choosing Unfold Symmetric Editing with Sewing. So now let's choose Edit Pattern Tool. Right-click the center dot line, and you will get the option for Remove Link Editing, Cut and Sew, or Add Guideline along points. So for example, I will right-click and choose Cut. And then Simulate. And it will cut your pattern apart and they are still symmetrically linked. So any edit to apply on one side will still apply to the other. If you want to remove all symmetry to the pattern pieces, you can right-click on them, choose Remove Linked Editing. Once all symmetry is removed, and if we edit the piece, or we edit the sewing, in one side, these all actions will not apply to the other side. And to relink these pieces together, we can use Transform Pattern Tool and then select them all, right-click on them and apply Symmetric Pattern with Sewing. And if I want to merge them back together, I can use Edit Pattern Tool, right-click on them, choose Merge, and then they will become one single piece with half symmetry. So I will simulate to see the result. And if you edit any points or segments from one side, the edits will apply to the other side. Okay, so now we have one single piece with half symmetry. And if I right-click on it and then remove link editing, so now this piece is just a normal piece without any symmetry function on it. And then if I try to edit the points or the segment, the other side will not follow. So if I want to have a single piece and I can edit both sides, I need to use Trace Tool to cut it apart first, and then choose both pieces, apply length editing, symmetric pattern with sewing, and then merge them back together. So now you can edit the points and segments together for both sides. Next, I'm going to talk about the updates of baselines. I'm going to open up a new project. So actually using baselines for drafting or designing is quite convenient because it will not change the mesh of the pattern. I'm going to explain more in the following demonstration. First, I will change the mesh view, and I will select Internal Tool and then draw an internal line, and then double click to put it down. And you can see the pattern mesh changes. So that's why when you place down internal lines on the pattern, sometimes it will get delayed because it needs time to make the meshes go around the line. But if I use base 2, and for example, if I choose base polygon and draw a line, draw a similar line on the pattern, double click to finish. Even the line is crossing the pattern, the mesh will not change. So the program will move faster if we use baseline for designing. Before 5.2, Edit Pattern tool cannot grab or select baselines. It had to be made by converting from internal lines. Now in 5.2 version, baseline has been given its own tools. We can now use baselines to draw rectangle, ellipses, and dots. The other feature for baselines is now we can lock or unlock the baselines. As you can see, we cannot grab or select the already existing baselines on the piece. But if I unlock the baselines, right-click the background, and then choose Unlock All Baselines, then we can edit these baselines. And we can do things like split, just like how we did for internal lines. And we can lock a singular baseline. So this one is locked, but the others are still editable. If you want to access this baseline again, you can right-click the background and click Unlock All Baselines, and it will be unlocked again. And we can add guideline along a baseline. So just right-click the baseline and then choose Add Guideline Along Points. And you can move the guideline or you can right-click and delete it. And we can also change the baseline length. So you can change its measurement and then select the direction. And so now in 5.2, baselines are editable just like internal lines, and it has its own tools to create different shapes, and you can also lock and unlock them. So I'm going to show you how to use these base tools for designing. I will demonstrate the base rectangle first, just like how we do with internal line tools. So I will hold the left click and then drag, and then release the left click freely to draw a rectangle shape. Or we can just left click once and then open the measurement box, and then we can insert the width and height. And then we can also replicate the shape, or we can design its position just like the options we have with internal shapes. Also, we can use it to create the button marking with base, polygon, and ellipse tool. So first, I will draw a horizontal line with base, polygon tool. So left click to start, and then hold the shift key and then right click to open the measurement box, and then I will insert a specific measurement, confirm, and then you will see there is a baseline following my cursor. So I just need to press enter key to cut it, and then I will change to base ellipse. So if I want to make a button marking along with this baseline, I will move my cursor and then snap to the ending point, then left click to open the measurement box. And then I can adjust its size by editing its diameter or radius or circumference. All the shapes and lines that we drew a lot at the first place. So if I try to use Edit Pattern tool to grab it or select them, and I cannot because they are still locked. So if I want to edit them, we can first unlock all baselines. So again, right click the background and then choose unlock all baselines. So for example, if I right click this button marking with transform pattern tool, I will get the options to copy, paste, or rotate it, and so on. So I will choose copy, and then right click, choose paste, and then I will hold the shift key, and then I can left click to put it vertically or horizontally. So left click. And also we can double click the center point of the shape, and then resize it like this. So these are the updates for baseline tools. Okay, next I'm going to talk about the update features of dots. So I will open a new file to demonstrate. First, I will switch to transparent view to demonstrate clearly. So I will select Edit Pattern tool, and then I will right click these 7 points, and then you will see Add Dot with fullness. So after I select this function, you will see the slash line is attaching my cursor, and it says click a segment to draw the slash line. So I will move my cursor to this segment, left click, and then you have this movement to guide around. And then I can left click freely, or I can right click to insert a specific measurement. And then OK. So now you can see I just create a dot with sewing, and then I can simulate to see the results. Next, I'm going to show you how to draw a dot freely. So right click this segment point, and then choose Add Dot with fullness. And then you have this slash line again attaching your cursor, and then you can move your cursor to the left line, left click, and then you will get this movement again. So you can left click to do it freely, or you can right click and then do it by length. And then you will get a new dots with sewing again. So I will simulate to see the results. Next, I'm going to show you how to rotate dots. So let's choose Edit Pattern Tool and then select the dots. And then actually you can edit the dots by clicking Edit Dots, and then you can adjust the measurement. So right click and then choose Rotate Dots. And then it asks you to click on a segment to draw a new dot. So I will click it on the armhole line, and then you will see the front lines here, and the slash line cannot pass through this front lines, but you can move it freely to decide your new dot location. So I will move it to the original point, and then it will ask you to select the sides to rotate. So I will select this one, and then you can rotate this piece freely. So once I close the original dot, and then left click, and then you can decide the length. So I will just left click freely. And then you will see a new dot here. So when I simulate, you can see the dot is rotated. So next I'm going to show you the fullness tool, but before that I need to cut this piece apart. So let me create an internal line first. And then I will cut this apart, and then I will assign this fabric to it, and I will also need to cut this center seam apart. Yeah. And then I will add the length relationship to them. About the fullness tool, we actually used to call it slash and spread. So now we call it fullness points. And it comes with a new option called fullness line. So if we hold down this icon, you can see fullness points and fullness line. So let's choose fullness line to demonstrate. So I'm going to add fullness to this panel, and the first thing we need to do is left click to start, and then dragging on the line, and then left click to end, and then go to the other side, left click to start, and then left click to end. And then you see a measurement box pops up, and then so you can see some options here, and the fullness line length represent the top segment, and the slash line length represents the bottom segment. So so we can type in our own measurement, and then you will see the panel spread out, and the direction means that where do you want to add the fullness to. So if I choose start, then the fullness will add to this side, and if I choose end, it will be like this. So I will choose end, and then I will keep the fullness line length as original, and then I will increase the length for the slash line. So it will be like this, and then I will click OK. So you can see the pattern will be spread out like this. And then if I simulate, you will see the changes. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some steps on how to add fullness to the pattern, but also match the sewing notches at the same time. So I focus on the sleeve, And now you can see my sewing is actually matching the notches. And I will use the fullness line again. So left click to start and then left click to end. So I will just start and end between the notches, and then I will select the bottom segment line freely. And then we can choose the direction to both so that I can increase the measurement, and then you will see the pattern shape. The pattern will spread out like this, and then you can adjust the measurement until you're happy with the shape, and then you can click OK. Okay, so once we finish this step, and then we can simulate. Okay, so let's check our sewing. So my sewing is still matching with the notches, and actually we can delete this sewing and then we can sew them together again and simulate. Next, I'm going to demonstrate how to use fullness line tool to create a curved neckline. I will keep using the fullness line tool, and then I will first select the neckline, and also secondly I will select the parallel line, and then you will see the measurement box here. So if I increase the measurement for this fullness line, I can keep clicking the arrows so you can see the pattern is spreading out. But I actually want it to spread out in that way, so I can change the direction to end. So you can see the fullness will be pushed in and the pattern will be pushed upward like this. So I can keep clicking, or I can insert a specific measurement. Okay, so I'm happy with this shape, and I can click OK. So I will freeze the front panel and then simulate. And then I will use add point speed line tool, and then I would like to add a segment point here, and I will switch back to edit pattern tool to pull it inward like this. Okay, so if I change to curve point, you can see there are some curve points around this area, and if I want to delete them, I need to delete them like group by group. So this is how we do in the older version, but now in 5.2 we can actually lock the segment points. So I can right click the segment point and then lock, and then go back to curve point 2. So now when I marquee the pattern, I will not select the segment points. So I can just marquee over there and then press delete key, and also select the rest of it and then delete it. Yeah, and then I will try to simulate again. So the shape is already modified. And if I want to unlock this segment point, I can right click the background and then choose unlock or pattern outlines. So now you can move this segment point again. Okay, so now I will demonstrate the other fullness tool, which is fullness points. So with this tool, we can still do the slash and spread action. So how we used to do is we select the segment and then move the slash line to the other end and then spread it out. And now we can use it in a different way. So I will remove the link editing first. And then I will choose the fullness point again. So now when I move to the end, you can still choose which side you want to spread out, but instead of this, we can also choose the center slash line. We can choose it and then we can spread the pattern like this. So I will do it again. So choose the center point and then move to the other end, and then choose the center slash line instead, and then you can spread your pattern like this. So you can spread it for both sides now, and then you can left click to put it down freely, or you can right click to type in your own measurement. So I will simulate to see the result. Next, let's talk about pleats tool. Originally, we have pleats fold and pleats sewing, and now we have a new feature called pleats. So this one allows us to create pleats out of a flat pattern more easily. Okay, so left click to start and then move your cursor to the other side and then left click. And then it will ask you to select one side to add the pleats, and I will choose the larger side. So you can choose your pleats type, and I will use the knife type for this time. And you can also increase the number of pleats. So you can see depth and interval. So actually, the depth means this area, and the interval means this area. So let's take a look of the depth. Okay, so for the depth, there are two options, start and end. So start means the upper area and the end means the bottom area. So if I increase the number of the start area, you can see the end will follow because now we are linking them together. So they will keep increasing the width and they will keep parallel to each other. And if I unlock them and I can increase the end area, the pleats will spread out like this. So we can do the same for the interval. So unlock them and then you can increase the end area. So you can keep clicking the arrows until you're happy with the shape and the structure, or you can type in a specific measurement. And also you can see create notch. So for this one, if I choose start, the notches will be only at this area. So if I choose end, you will only see the notches in the bottom area. So it depends on your need, and I think if you will not show any pieces at the bottom, you can just choose start. But I will choose both for this demonstration first. So I will hit OK. Okay, so before simulate, I will reset them first. And then I will reposition them a little bit. And then I will strengthen them. And then simulate. And then they will attach to the garment. And then I will unstrengthen them. And simulate again. So the other good thing about this tool is when this panel is already sewn to the other one, and after you add pleats, all the sewing will be modified for you. So you can see here, and even the little folds are done for you. So you don't need to do it by yourself. And also, all the sewing that has to be turned have been changed as well. Okay, so I will select the front panel and then unfreeze it and then simulate again. And then I would like to show you the pleats in render mode so I can show you this part better. So you can see the pleats are more defined in render mode. So that is the feature for fullness and pleats. Next, I'm going to show you about locking puns and grouping patterns and the new features for annotations. So I'm going to open a new file. Next, I'm going to demonstrate new features about locking internal lines, locking patterns, puns, and segments. And also, there will be some update about annotation rotation and pattern grouping. So we can see that a set of 2D pattern lock tools is added to the toggle menu in this version, and we can find lock pattern outline and lock internal line, lock baseline, and lock guideline. Okay, so before I start to demonstrate, I need to create some internal shapes here. So I'm going to demonstrate the lock pattern outline first. So I will click this icon to lock all the pattern outlines. So when I try to marquee all the pieces, I can only select the internal shapes. So we can also notice that the outlines are all locked by seeing their color. So now they are all turned into gray color. That means they are locked. So if you want to unlock the outline, we can click this icon again to unlock, or we can right click the background and then choose unlock all pattern outlines. So in the following demonstration, if we want to unlock other things like unlock internal lines, unlock baselines, unlock guidelines, we can also right click the background and then choose them from the menu. Next, if we click the second icon, lock internal line, so all the internal line or shapes will lock. And now I cannot use transform pattern tool or edit pattern tool to move them or to select them. So again, if I click this icon, I can unlock the shapes, or I can right click the background again and then choose unlock all internal lines. So the internal lines will become normal again. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate lock baseline. So first I will use base polygon, and then I will draw a baseline here and also over here, and I will draw a shorter one to demonstrate. So the baselines that I just drew are automatically locked. So I cannot use edit pattern tool to grab them or to select them. But if I choose lock baseline again, click it, and you can see that I can select those baselines with my edit pattern tool, and I can move them like this. And if you open a file with already existing baseline, they will be locked as well, so you need to click this icon again to unlock them. So you can see the points here by telling that whether this baseline is locked or not. So if this baseline is locked, you cannot see the points, but if you unlock them, then the points will appear and then you can edit the baselines. Next, I'm going to show you lock segments and points. So first I will select the edit pattern tool, and then I will try to select some segments and points on the front panel. So I will select the armhole area and the side seam, and then I can right click on them and then choose lock. And then I will do the same on the back panel. Right click, lock. So once the segments and points are locked, I cannot use my edit pattern tools to grab them or to select them. And they will all turn into gray color, so you can tell they are locked. And if I marquee the pieces, or I press Ctrl A to select all the pieces, you can see that only the unlocked segments and points are selectable, and they will be highlighted in yellow color. Okay, so I will also lock these segment points. And then you can see that even I cannot select these locked points, but if I lengthen the waistline or shorten it, I can still move around these segment lines. So I can shorten it, or I can lengthen it without affecting the rest of the segment lines. Yeah. Okay, so I will take this as an example. So even these points are locked and the side seams are locked, you can still move these locked points by dragging these unlocked segments. And for those locked points and segments that link to each other, I cannot move or select them. Now I will show you how to lock guidelines. First, I need to use Edit Pattern tool and then choose 2 points and then right click on them and then choose Add Guideline Along Points. So you will see there is a guideline here. Or we can turn on the ruler and then pull down a guideline. So if I click Lock Guideline, I cannot move the guideline now. And if I pull down a guideline from the ruler again, this guideline will be immediately locked. So because I just locked the guidelines. So if we want to move them again, we need to click the lock guideline icon. So now we can remove them. And we can also delete them or delete them all. Then I will show you the function of group patterns. So I will unlock all the patterns now, and then I will choose the pieces in light green color, and then right click, choose group, and I will choose the rest of them in brown color, and then group them into another group. So now if I just click one piece of them, the whole group will be selected, and also the other one, this is the other group. So now, so you can group your pieces whatever you like. You can group them by fabrics, or you can group them by items. So now I can just click the whole group and then assign the fabric together. And if you want to select a singular piece, you can double click it to select. And if you want to ungroup them, you can right click on them and then choose group, ungroup, and then you can group them in a different way. So let's say I want to group the sleeves together and the other as another group. Next, I will show you the updates of annotation. So we can now hold the left key to rotate the annotation, and then it will detect the 45 or 90 degrees rotation angles if you hold the shift key. And you can also move it around. The next one is the updates of work pattern 2. So just like what we did in 5.1, I will select the point of the sleeve pattern, and then I will slap it to the corresponding point of the top, and then the sleeve will sliding along the armhole like this. And if I want to add notches over there, we can right click and then we can choose either on the walk pattern or on a stationary pattern or both patterns. So I will choose both patterns. And then the sleeve pattern is still attaching with the armhole. And if I want to keep the sleeve like this, matching the armhole notch, I could now click this option. So right click and then choose Move Walked Pattern to Intersection. So now the sleeve is moved from there to here. So once this area of both patterns are matched up, I can now draw a style line here. So those lines will meet together at the same area. So before drawing any style lines, make sure the pattern is on top of the other. So if now I double click to choose this single piece, you can see the highlight here. That means this piece is stepping on the other one. So now we can choose base polygon 2 and then draw a style line here. Double click to finish, and then double click this pattern, and then right click and then choose order, and then bring it to the front. And then draw a style line. So once you finish the drawing, you can double click it, and instead of moving it manually, actually you can trace this baseline. So now we can click on the pattern, right click and then choose rotate, y-axis, and then click on the internal line to rotate it. So that is
Now we come to the next updates of materials. First, I will talk about the color search. So we got the project file here, and now I would like to change the colors of this jacket. So I came to the colors. As you know, we integrated Pantone color systems inside, but now we have one more functions that you can search the Pantone chips by Pantone color numbers. So we got this search bar here, and you just type in the Pantone colors and then search. You got the color chips that you want, and then click OK. Then simply you can change the colors as your preferred. So it will be very convenient and more direct to search the colors and do your color changes. Another update is for our 3D sim lines. So let's now I go to this shoulders internal line. I turn it into sim line. Now I got the sim line here. What can I do is I can now go to property editors to see that there is an option for 3D sim lines, and I can now add a normal map to choose to apply on the seams to make it more obvious. So currently we have the two defaults normal map, but of course welcome to add our own normal map for the sim line. And so I can always adjust the intensity as well. So let's say I'm got 30 to make now it looks more obvious. So which you can enhance your looks on the overall scenes. So the next will be the simline top stage. Before previous versions, we only got the OBJ files for segment and top stage, but now we also got OBJ file for options for simline top stage. So just simply click. I apply the simline top stage at this seams. That will be the type. Now we have OBJs for this simline top stage. Of course, you can go back to choose the textures, but now since we got the OBJ, so you will see the sim now. The top stage, simline top stage looks more obvious. Next, we have new fusible materials. So let's say I go to the cuffs for demonstrations. So when I get to this patterns and I go to BOM, we click on, we will see that at the presets we have more fusible options, which the new ones, they are categorized in different parts for the patterns, such as body, lapel, pocket bones, under collars, and the remaining will still same as the previous versions. So you can just try and feel free to find your suitable fusible objects to give you more preferences to create more versatile looks. So the next update is on graphic grading. Let's say I make this back graphic as an example for demonstrations. So I click this grading, and then I just chose this graphic outline as grading, a part of the grading. So now I got the whole graphics into also the grading, same as to the pattern outline. And when I change to another sides, now you will see the graphic also change the size, same as the patterns. So this is the updates for the gradings for graphics. The next new features on the materials is for zippers. So now we can add zippers on 2D pattern windows. So I would like to demonstrate how I put the zippers, add the zippers at the center front. So I just simply go to, I go to the 3D windows to click the zipper icon. And now I can move to the 2D windows. And starting point, I just click one time and drag. You may notice that you don't need to click any in between the lines because it will automatically detect it. And for the end, I just double click. Now I finish one side and I add the other sides. Still, I click one time and also dragging towards the end. I double click. Now I will automatically adding the zippers. And also you may notice that when adding the zippers, now you have the stoppers at the zipper ends. And at the same time, when I drag, you still can drag the sliders. And you will find also at the top of the zipper start, it will also have the zipper stoppers. So now you can go to the property editor. You will find the shapes for the slider, puller, and the stopper. And you can also freely choose from our library for both zipper slider and puller, as well as to the stopper. Now you can choose open end or closed end, and also the top and the bottom stopper will look like. Meanwhile, for the materials, you can also set your own materials for slider, puller, and stopper. Let's say slider, I can change the material to metal and the color as well. You might immediately see that both stoppers, slider, and puller, they are changed to colors and the material. You may also go to the puller and unclick the same material options, and you may tailor-make your own puller materials and colors individually. So now I change the puller to plastic and change the other color. So now you may have your own customized design for zippers. Then we came to the last new features on material, which is piping and binding in 2D. So let's say now I start with piping first. I go to piping buttons on 3D windows. And I would like to add this piping on this seam lines on the front. So I go to the 2D windows and start clicking by one point and drag, same as the zippers way. Then towards the end point, I double click. So immediately we will see this piping had added into this seam lines. Same as to binding, I click binding icons and on 3D windows. Now I would like to add the bindings on the bottom hems of the skirt. So I go to the 2D windows and then start also by clicking one point and drag. You may click one to continue to make sure the direction is correct. Then just double click to end. Now you got the binding. Now it's invisible because the type is set to under. So you can go to the property editor to set the type to over. And to be more visible, I now change to the other fabrics. So now I got the binding. So now we come to the last part of new features for render. I will talk about the background texture fields and ground shadows. So you will see I just opened the render windows on these project files. And when we go to the property editor, when I open the image video properties, so you will see that under backgrounds, just click texture folders. And you will see that there's a lot more background image options for you to choose besides the net 01. Also, this background image including gradations and some diagonals. So these files will give you some more ideas for presenting for lighting when you're working on Photoshop or other light settings. So let's say I chose diagonal 01 and open. They will immediately applying on the garment's backgrounds. So besides the backgrounds, we can also play with the colors together with this background image. So when I click colors, I just randomly pick colors from the garments. you will immediately see that the screen immediately multiply with the background image that I just applied it. Or I can immediately change other background image, such as gradation 0.3. Then also you will see this image multiply with the colors. So let me set them back on the white background. And besides this, image background can play with different wheel aspects. Let me apply some preset custom wheel. You see also this background image can play with different wheel. So you can play around with that to enhance your presentation's diversities. So we have another new features which is ground shadows. I just add back the avatars. So when we go to light properties, you will see under property editor we also have a new items called ground shadows. If you just click the box on to show, then I just immediately refresh interactive render. Then you will see these ground shadows appear at the render windows as well. So this is the new features that the previous version which could not have. This will also apply when you decide to play with the background, texture backgrounds. You will also play with the transparencies, which you can still see these shadows of the avatars. But please be note that this ground shadow features will only apply on the background image textures, but not for environment map. So if you click environment map show, which you can no longer to use the ground shadows. So when you went let me went back to the image settings. If you want to create have your own background image input into this avatar, now you can also welcome to select your own backdrops, such as I have this image. But beforehand, we need to make sure that our background image size is the same as the image size that we are setting in. Or else, when you input the background image, the image size will be stretched or squeezed. So now let's say I show you the backdrop image. I just check that which is pixelated at 800 times 1052. Then I just take in here. Then now I can go to input my backdrops image. Now you will see this backdrop image immediately add into it with the ground shadows. So please make sure that the image size is the same as the background image size. And now I can play with some light setting to make it more obvious. So I can play with the light, and I just strengthen it, the light intensity and the angle. Next, we will move on to the new features on fur rendering, which is gradations. Now we can set gradations on the colors of the fur, so that can give more varied in-depth details on the fur. Now let me show you how to create that. We have this fabrics hanging here with fur rendering. So we now can go to property editor and we can set the base color first. So I chose more sharp colors, let's say red. Then I interact with it. Now you will see this immediately shows the fur become all red. in color. And you may notice that there's a new options here, third parameters with third gradation colors. So once you click it on, that you will have the following two options with mid colors, tip colors appeared. And you will instantly see that at the render windows, the first with more white appear on the tip ends of the third. So now I can set the mid color first. So I chose another color, maybe green. And then the tip colors, let's say I chose blue. Then once you will immediately see that both green and blue colors appear on the first and the middle range and the end point end range. So we can create the gradations on the third. Of course, now the below options, mid positions and tip positions, indicate that the length of this color range appeared in the midpoint and the tip point. And at the same time, interpolations, which means that now it's the both red, green, and blue colors. They appear in like more gradient with like blurring colors in between. If I click it off, then you will immediately see that this colors range in between the batch parts, they are more sharp and more clear. So I can now adjust the mid positions. I can turn it so that it could feel more closer to the midpoint, and tip as well. I can lengthen it. So it will be the new features on fur rendering gradations. Finally, we come to the last new updates on lighting options. So I just open another project files with the render windows open. And you may also notice that there are some new icons appear underneath the render icons and all those property icons. So when we first notice that there's a dome light appears at the windows, which when I click, you will see the dome lights. Settings now is activate and show, which actually when you come to the lighting properties, you will see that the dome lights is also set activate and show. But instead, there's no longer the free rectangle light appears underneath. This I just added by myself because now except dome light is defaulted to set activate. Other lightings will be now need to add by your own from the scratch. So I will describe this 6 different settings of lights one by one. When I click this dome lights, of course you can delete it, then immediately there's no more lights appeared. But I can add it back from clicking this dome light icons, then it will appear. And this dome lights will always appear at the center of the grid. But if I click once more, then you will have a pop-up window to inform you that you have double click, which is click OK, and then you can. Now I just delete this, and I will introduce the first one, the first lighting to you, which is rectangle light. So I go back to the rectangle light. I activate it and show it. Now you will see that this is the rectangle light that we are familiar with, which directly have a board that showcasing the light source. So you can adjust the intensities. Let's say I make it more stronger. So next will be fierce light. Let me deactivate it. And activate the sphere lights. Now you see that sphere light is, of course, is a sphere's shape, and the light source is coming from this sphere with a 360 degrees, so it's quite widespread. And so you will see that when the light source divergence on the objects is looks more soft and blur. So as well, you can adjust the radius, make it more bigger size with intensity as well, stronger, as well as the colors. So the next one is spotlights. I just deactivated the sphere lights and I open the spotlights. I activate it and show it. Now you see that there's a cone shapes appears on top. This is the spotlights. As its name saying, support spotlights will vary as a very focused light source. So maybe I just intensify the light source, and you will see that appear on the rendering nodes that the light source is really strong and with a very sharp focal point. And if you want to have that's not concrete, so sharp focal point divergence, you can set the penumbra angle, which I can say it's 10. Then the divergence and the focal points will be, the edges will look more blur and soft, as now you can see at the render windows. And as well as it is a cone, so the light source is coming from the outer edge and cone directions. So at the cone angles into less smaller than, let's say, 10, then the lighting source will be quite narrower, as now you can see. And if you see closer, the projected shadows, it looks quite sharp. If you don't like the shadows too sharp, you want it more blur, more soft, you can always adjust at the shadow radius. So let's say I say 10 as well. Now it looks more blur. So the spotlights will as well. There's a good tool to make the objects that you want is more sharp and focused. Then now I deactivate the spotlight and introduce the next light, which is directional lights. Let me activate it and show it. Now you can see that the directional lights is in this object icons, which is like arrow, that it's imitating the sunlights, which is the sunlight is the light source is so far away, but also with a very long divergence on the light source. So it's imitating the sunlight shining on to the environment. So now you see that if I go wider, it looks in some certain angles that you will see that the area that's covered by light source is really large, and with the more or less the same strong radiance of the lights. This is also very good tools when you want to have some more natural light source. then you can use the directional lights because all this light source is coming from the same directions. So I deactivate this one and introduce the next one, IES light. IES light is the standardized light format for the digitalized data for light source. So most of the lighting manufacturer, if they want to digitalize the data for the lights, so it will use the IES. Now you will see that under IES light, there's an IES files, which indicates when you click it. Actually, CLOs now have a default IES light files, so you can always get different lights IES files. Let's say I chose light 03. Then somehow the light source will look a little bit different, which imitating the specific lights in the physical worlds. So also you can adjust the colors. If you have some other IES file from the lighting manufacturer, you may also use it here. So let's say if I adjust the light source, the IES light, to more closer to the wall, then you will see the lights source appear on the plane surface. And one of the things that besides you can activate or shows in the property editor list, you can always adjust here at the 3D windows. Let's say I click this one, right click, you can now select all lights. Now you can select all lights that show at the 3D windows, or right click again, activate it all, or deactivate it, or even hide it and delete it. So it's now quite user friendly for you to adjust different light source and for the rendering image. So this is the end of our CLO 5.2 new features Hong Kong webinar presentations. We are now moving to live Q&A sections. Welcome to leave your questions, and thank you for watching.